And now, words of wisdom with Adam Carriker.
Having a smoking section in a restaurant is like having a peeing section in a pool.
Public service announcement time here on 4th and Pain, the only pro wrestling show to be hosted by an NFL player, the weight loss champion. That's Redskins defensive end Adam Carriker.
Myofascial release.
Former wrestling announcer and weight loss champion Chuck Carroll. Be sure to give the show a follow on Twitter at 4th and Pain and on 4thandpain.com. Adam, coming off of WrestleMania week, my God, we've got ourselves a couple of new champions, and to break it all down for us, friend of the show, Dave Scherer from PWInsider.com. Dave, how are you, man?
I'm good. I don't want to go to that pool Adam's in, though, I'll tell you that.
That's because I have three little kids. Pool. I have 3 little kids, and sometimes there's brown things floating around as well.
Brown? No, man.
Yeah.
All I know is...
they're candy bars, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Snickers.
It can't all be like Caddyshack, fellas.
Oh, boy.
All I know is I stay out of the kids' end of the pool because that is a legit yellow. Anyway, so Dave, let's talk about some pro wrestling here. You are an expert. You and Mike Johnson and the cast over at PWInsider.com do a phenomenal job. And my first question to you, sir, is the Undertaker. He was teased Monday night on Raw. He comes out, the Shield interrupts. Kane and Daniel Bryan, of course, do the run-in. Is this a case moving forward where he's not going to be absent for a full year? Maybe we actually will see him before WrestleMania 30?
I'm not 100% sure yet where they're going with that. I know that we're going to talk about The Rock, I'm sure. With him not being on the show, I know at least part of why they put The Undertaker on Monday was due to the fact that so many people travel to WrestleMania every year, as I'm sure you heard on Monday night. It's one of the most traffic shows for fans coming across the globe, obviously. And without Rock being there, I know part of what they were going to do was to give them something extra because The Rock wasn't there. Taker, he is a mystery man. I believe we even talked about this last time I was on the show, that pretty much everybody keeps it close to the vest with Taker. He's got that kind of respect in the locker room where people just don't talk about him. So, if there had been, some hands put on the Shield by The Undertaker and company, then maybe I'd be more inclined to think he's going to be back on a regular basis. But it should be noted, he is going on the European tour. He's been advertised for dark matches from the Raw later this month. It's going to be taped in the UK. So it wouldn't shock me. He came out of his match, from what I've heard from people that saw him in the locker room, he didn't look like he had any ill effects of the match, which is good considering, he's getting up there in the years and doing a match like that at his age is not easy, and I did like the fact that they teased the big spots, like him doing the big dive out of the ring, but Paul Heyman got in the way to stop it, because the psychology of it was there. But, if I had The Undertaker, he's like a very valuable resource to me now if I'm Vince McMahon.
Sure.
I'm going to be very careful how I use him, and I'm not going to have him do something that would get an ooh from the crowd right now and maybe preclude me from using him again anytime soon.
How old is The Undertaker at this point?
Late 40s. I think I could look it up. I have it in my database somewhere, but I'm not at my computer right now, so I can concentrate on talking to you gentlemen rather than get diverted away. Getting the... Let's put it that way.
Here's the question I want to know. And we're a year away from having to talk about this again or getting to talk about it again. Will the streak ever end? Or is he going to retire with this perfect 24, 25-0 streak? And if it is going to end, who will be the guy to end it?
See, Vince McMahon, his greatest creation in his mind is The Undertaker, and I'm not going to argue with him because you can't say he created Hulk Hogan. He helped, but Hogan was very much involved with creating a character. He's very protective of The Undertaker character, and, unlike real sports that you play, Adam, obviously, you guys would love to win the Super Bowl every year and keep your streak alive, but real life comes into play and other teams want to win too, whereas in wrestling, they can control what they do. I've heard that they're never going to end the streak, but you never say never, because when Vince McMahon signed Bret Hart to that long-term deal, he never thought he'd screw him in Montreal the way he did in 1997. So
Sure.
As of right now, the plan is to keep the streak alive, but I'm sure Undertaker, being the kind of guy he is, respect for the business, he came up the right way many years ago. If the right position is there for a guy to to beat him and gain what would be a huge boost to his career. I could see them doing it, but if I had to guess right now, I would say he retires with the streak of the WrestleMania undefeated, because it's one of those things that they can control, and it's one of those things that could go down in history as never be duplicated again. The funny part is, it wasn't like they went out saying, we're going to have this guy win 20 straight at WrestleMania. It just got to the point where he won every year. Like, oh, he hasn't lost yet. And then, the streak took on a life of its own in the last 5 years or so.
We're speaking with Dave Scherr from PW Insider here on Fourth and Pain, talking about The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Now, let's talk a little bit about his opponent, CM Punk. Vicious spot. The table just did not break at WrestleMania, and then we don't see him the following Monday night on Raw. Is he injured, Dave?
He definitely got banged up on that spot. My wife just looked it up. Undertaker's 47. I have a great wife. Is that awesome or what?
Gotta love that.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mrs. Scherr.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you were thanked, dear. CM Punk has been working injured for a while. He's had a bunch of injuries, but given he's, the position he's in the company, he just hasn't taken a break. Don't be surprised if he takes a break going forward. I think he'll still go on the tour of Europe, but I wouldn't be surprised after that if he took a break. They kept him off Monday to sell the match with The Undertaker, but he was legitimately hurt. He has a very bad leg injury because I'm sure you guys saw the Spanish announce table just doesn't like him. It breaks for everybody else, but not for CM Punk. I think this is the third time now he's tried to do a spot this year on that table. On the table just doesn't break for him. So, that was a pretty scary spot. He was very banged up in the leg from that, and he kept working, which is amazing. There was a fear that he had broken his leg even. He was limping badly backstage on Monday.
Yeah, the Spanish table apparently wants Triple H to get over more than it does CM Punk, because it broke for Triple H, which leads me into my next question. Triple H's career is not over, so what is next for Triple H?
That's a good question. Obviously, he's taken on a lot of responsibility now that storyline COO, but really behind the scenes, he is doing a lot now. He has a lot on his plate where talent development's due. And he's a guy that knows he can't do, well, I shouldn't say he knows he can't do both, but he realizes going forward that the company is very thin on talent right now, as I'm sure you guys know, looking at the roster, and developing talent is his primary function. He does a lot backstage at shows. And when you're a guy that is wrestling, obviously, you know what it's like to train Adam. I'm sure Chuck does too, because he's the weight loss champion. It takes a lot to train, certainly for an elite level position like he would have to be on the card. He's going to be more of an attraction. I think on a good year you'd see 4 pay-per-view matches out of him, and that's if they really need him. I think in the perfect world he would work maybe WrestleMania and SummerSlam, and that's it.
Sounds like he's going to be kind of on the Undertaker schedule moving forward.
And Brock Lesnar.
Absolutely. But now let's talk about...
You'll get more out of Brock, though, because Brock's just signed a 2-year extension, and he has the limited dates. So you'll probably see him 4 to 5 times a year on pay-per-view, Brock.
Being as we're not going to see him very much, is there any shot he fights for the WWE Championship?
He's kind of... the whole plan on Monday was for them to do... an angle to start the show with him and The Rock, building towards something with them. So at this point in time, I think they're looking at Brock as an attraction more than a full-time guy. Obviously they put the title on The Rock for a while. He wasn't a full-time guy. There are some guys in the back that have a problem with that. Me personally, I don't. If you can get a guy that is a legitimate Hollywood movie star to appear on your program, I think you make concessions to that. But some of the guys, they're a little proprietary about the business, and we're on the road. He should be on the road. I think there'd be a major problem if they put Brock in that position, because he too has a limited dates contract. He would not be touring house shows, and he wouldn't be on TV every week. And plus, they've had him lose a few. He lost on pay-per-view to Triple H, and there would have to be some building. But then again, they put the world title on Dolph Ziggler, and there hasn't been many guys that have been booked worse than him over the last year. So you never know what Vince is going to do.
Okay, you spoke about a shortness of the talent on the roster. And one of the guys that I see as a potential megastar, yet he loses every pay-per-view match that he has and can never win a match of any significance, is Ryback. But he is clearly the guy after John Cena and CM Punk that could be that next megastar. Will they let him break out, or what's going to happen with Ryback?
Well, you know what? That is a really good question. And I think they would have pulled the trigger on Ryback. I think he would have beaten CM Punk late last year had it not been for the fact that they had already married themselves to The Rock match at the Rumble. And they had the plan done right through WrestleMania where Rock would beat Punk and then Cena would beat Rock, and they couldn't deviate from that. What I'm hoping, as someone who follows the business, is I'm hoping when we hear Ryback explain what he did on Monday to John Cena, I'm hoping what he'll say is, I was in line last year and I got pushed out of the way. I got put on the back or whatever they want to say. I could use more colorful language, but we're on the radio. And he says, well, my time's now and I'm coming for it. And I hope what they realize is it's very clear. I mean, they know a lot of people don't like John Cena. And it's not the person John Cena. He's a great person. His character is appealing to children, and it's not really appealing to adult males that want to see a badass kind of character. I mean, when Mark Henry, I'm sorry, I'm not as big as you, Adam. I'm a fairly big guy. But if Mark Henry walks out and gets in my face and tells me he's about to kill me, I'm not going to make jokes about having sex with chocolate and s'mores.
I actually did like that. That was actually funny.
Yeah, but it was funny. But see, that kind of thing to me makes Mark Henry, because if Mark Henry came up to me and I said that to him, I would fully expect him to destroy me at that moment in time. And when he doesn't, it hurts the characters. And that's, I think, why a lot of people don't like John Cena that are adult males for the most part. So what I'm hoping is WWE will realize that Cena with the title is not what a lot of people want to see. Maybe him chasing the title is, but I think it's time to give Ryback a chance, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him get it, because Vince often does something like that where he'll have a guy lose at the pay-per-view only to come back the next day and get over big, and he did it with Dolph Ziggler this week too.
Speaking with Dave Scher from PW Insider. And Dave, in 30 seconds or less, it's after WrestleMania, typically cut time now in WWE, the customary post-Mania releases, if you will. Didn't see too many of them last year, but are there some guys on the chopping block this year? And if so, Dave, who are they?
You know, there's always guys on the chopping block. The first thing you have to understand with whether there'll be releases is when they get the early preliminary buy rate figures for WrestleMania. That determines what the rest of the year is going to be like. Last year, obviously, it was a huge number. Everybody would see. This year, if the number is down, there are people I could see cut. I don't want to put names out there because, if you were fill in the blank, do you really want to hear, oh, Dave Scher said you're probably going to get cut? I mean, they know. I don't want to do that to them. But here's what I would say. If you want to look at guys that you think could be on the bubble, go to WWE.com, look at the superstars, and if you go down that list and say, wow, he still works there, he's in trouble. That's the way I look at it.
There's a few of those guys I can think of, but okay.
That is a fantastic answer.
It's pretty obvious. But the flip side is, if the show does well, they'll be less inclined to get rid of people because, as we talked about earlier, the roster is very thin. Now, are they ever going to – I mean, there's guys I could throw names, like a JTG, for example. No disrespect meant to him. But do you ever see them pushing JTG? Probably not. So if it comes in that we need to cut some salary somewhere, a guy like him would be vulnerable.
I swear to God.
If they don't, then, hey, we'll send him down to NXT, have him work with young guys. We can put him on house shows, stuff like that. He's not going to get a push on TV. So it really all depends on how the numbers come in after Mania. And the gate was great. The money they made there, the crowd they drew. So if you're those guys, you're hoping when those first buy rate numbers come in, they're over 1 million buys.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned JTG because Adam and I were at Raw, the last one before Mania, and he comes out for a match. I don't know. It was probably just a dark match. And Adam and I both look at each other like, he's still here? And I used to enjoy him. Him and his tag team with Shad Gaspard. I enjoyed him a lot. You never see him. Crime time, exactly. You just never see him on WWE television anymore. Dave, last question always belongs to you. So if there's anything you would like to ask Adam, now is certainly the time, my friend.
Feel free to fire away.
I asked him for RG3 last time, and he said I couldn't have him, so I won't ask that again. Thanks a lot, Adam, by the way.
No problem.
I do have a question. Have you ever thought about getting into the business after your career's over in the NFL?
I have absolutely thought about it. I'm a huge fan. We do the show. Here's my issue with it, and here's why I will always most likely be never anything more than a fan, because people don't give wrestlers enough credit. That is a physical sport. They beat up their bodies. So I'm going to play football as long as I physically can. When I can't physically play football anymore, I'll retire. Well, if I can't physically play football, how can I wrestle? Because physically, I probably won't be able to do the grueling schedule day in and day out. As much as I would love to, I'm not going to choose wrestling over football for my career. But if for some reason I got cut and never played football as again right now, I could physically go wrestle, I would do that.
There you go.
Good answer. Dave Scherer from PW Insider. If you are a wrestling fan, and odds are you are if you're listening to this show, definitely check out his site, the most knowledgeable in the business. There is no other on par with PWInsider.com. Dave, thank you so very much for your time.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure, gentlemen. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You too. This is Fourth and Pain. We'll be right back.